Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Postcast, Pevensey Bay podcast. If this is the first time that you are tuning in, or if you need a refresher, Postcast is your local community podcast, which is like your local community notice board. Anything going on in the local area will be covered, including the amazing stories and people that make this community a great place to work, live and play. This episode, as you can probably tell by me being outside, if you are watching this, if you're listening to this, then hey, I'm outside, is all about nature and enjoying our local green spaces and environments. We will be going on a journey, a bit of a secretive journey, if you will, into a garden which is not very well known, but run by some incredible volunteers. So, the question remains, will you join me on this little adventure? I'm here with Andrew, who is a
founder member. This community forest garden is set up about 8 years ago, and so it was the result of a negotiation between a local water company, a group of volunteers who wanted to put some beehives on the land. We managed to get a licence to manage this land, and so everything you see around us is what we've created in the last 8 years. So what we've done is basically taken an abandoned piece of land that had become very much an overgrown jungle, and turned it into a food forest within a young woodland ecology. So that's what's happened. And so it's a place for volunteers to do some work on managing the land, planting things, but also to relax and unwind it. So we have tea breaks and conversations, and we do a lot of bird watching here. There's a lot of bird life here.
Oh, that's
really
lovely.
Special site for watching birds. So volunteers can do as much or as little work as they like, or they can just come here and unwind and relax, and just being in sort of a special place where there's a lot of plants and wildlife to enjoy.
Now you use the word ecology. I'm really interested because I've never heard that word be used before. Do you know the definition?
Well, basically ecology is it's a special way of looking at nature. It's a way of looking at nature as a very complex web of interconnected and interdependent living systems. So where everything has an effect upon everything else. If you look at the world with an ecological lens, you start to see it as a complex, dynamic living system in which every part of it contributes to the health of every other part, including human beings. Human beings are animals themselves, animals that interact with every other living system within an environment like this. And because of that, you then can't separate any one part in isolation. You can't understand any one part of it without understanding the whole.
Okay.
So it's trying to look at living systems as a whole and seeing how everything within it interconnects with everything else.
Okay, yeah, that does make sense. I was just curious about what that word meant.
Yeah.
In all honesty, but yeah, I think going back to what you said about this being somewhere to like relax, and do things like bird spotting and things like that. I've only just explored like a teeny little bit of this area.
Yeah.
I know you showed me the map earlier.
Yeah.
But I really do get that sort of sense of calm, serenity, and this kind of secret, hidden away little garden that this is. You know, you wouldn't expect to see something as beautiful as this next to a sewage plant, like what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that in a way is fairly beautiful.
Yeah.
That sort of juxtaposition.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's also an example, I think, of how every little piece of abandoned land can be put back into productive use. I mean, one of the things we like to do with this forest garden is to use it as a demonstration site, to demonstrate to local people and local authorities about how you can make the local area much more sustainable and resilient in terms of food production. Because we're entering a world, an age of climate change, where international food supply chains are very much in the process of breaking down bit by bit. And we won't be able to import as much food from the rest of the world as maybe we're used to. And therefore we have to start thinking about growing a lot more food locally. Obviously that means more local farm, but you also need more local community food forests. And as I said before, this is partly a food forest within a young woodland. So there's a huge amount of fruit we harvest here throughout the year. Whether it be apples, currants, berries, we're even harvesting nuts now, like hazelnuts and walnuts. And that sort of has huge potential for giving local people access to healthy, organic, locally produced food.
And it is that, isn't it? Encouraging people to get more involved within the local environment, local green spaces.
Yes.
Even if it's something little, like it doesn't have to be on a big scale like this. But I believe that you guys are very open to volunteers.
That's right. Yeah, so we'd love to have more volunteers, more the merrier. As you can see, it's a big site, so there's plenty to do. We can barely keep on top of things as it is. And so yeah, it's we try to have as many open days and community workshops as possible, because what we find is quite a few volunteers that come here, and not just because they want to be in the open air and enjoy nature, but it's also because it benefits their mental health as well, because it's a place where they can really get away from everything and connect with nature, experience the healing effect of just being in a wild place. I mean, this is a pretty wild place. It's not like we keep it manicured, so it's wild deliberately because we want to create the maximum amount of biodiversity for wildlife to enjoy. I like to see this place as a kind of meeting place, a halfway house, where humans and wildlife come together and meet at a halfway point.
Oh, I love that.
Both sides benefit.
Yeah, I love that way of thinking about that. That is lovely, and thinking about the way in which we interact with nature as humans. Because I think, as you said earlier, we do live in an age now where climate change and global warming is something that we are aware of a lot more now. We're aware of our impacts that we're having on nature. And I think you bring up a very important point of mental health and well-being. And I don't think it's something that can be understated, the importance that just going outside can have. I can have very personal stories myself about how my own well-being has been massively affected by just coming to green spaces, being surrounded by trees and nature, and being grounded again. So yeah.
Exactly. And not just nature, but nature that is still a bit untamed. It's quite untamed here, really. As I said, it's not really manicured, so we allow a lot of plants here are allowed to grow and seed themselves, self-seed. So, which is interesting because as the years go by, new stuff keeps popping up because it's a dynamic system. So it doesn't stay the same at all. We're constantly surprised by lots of new plants springing up because there's all sorts of self-seeding going on. And that's the way we like it. You know, it's half the fun. It's just seeing year by year how the whole ecosystem here is evolving and changing.
I think that's so beautiful though, that there are still things that unpredictability of nature, like the discovering things all the time, and the beauty that can come from that. I think that is so beautiful, and maybe something that we can take from nature to almost appreciate some of the unpredictabilities of life in general. You know, in the everyday.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we try as a species too hard to control nature, and it's important to let nature breathe, if you like, to get a chance for it to still express itself, even if you're using the land to do stuff like producing food. Because for a start, you know, we don't use chemicals or pesticides or herbicides at all in this place. You know, that's one of our founding principles. Just don't use it.
Yeah.
You know, because we're already contaminating ourselves and nature too much by the sheer amount of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers that we're applying to the land. So here, the soil quality is rapidly improving because we're allowing it to naturally improve itself. You know, so for example, there's so much so many trees here. When the leaves fall off in the autumn, they get decomposed and help to create new soil. There's a huge insect life here as well, which also helps to condition the soil. You know, we leave lots of dead branches lying around on the ground here.
Okay.
And that encourages the insects, the fungi. There's a growing awareness of how fungi and mycorrhizal networks are vital to improve the soil and improve the health of ecosystems. So we allow the fungi and the moss and the insects to thrive through all the little piles of dead wood that we leave lying around. Like for example over there, you can see a fallen, dead piece of wood that's slowly decomposing.
And I think that was something that I was actually going to bring up later, which I think you perfectly sort of went into, is the sustainable ways in which this community forest garden is run. Because I know that on the website it's one of the first sentences that it mentions sustainable practices and things like that.
Well, that's right. Another example is we don't have bonfires. That's one of the rules that we laid down right at the beginning. We don't have bonfires. If all the stuff we cut down or prune, we compost. So we've got a row of compost heaps just over there, and so we just simply compost it, and we developed a composting technique that enables us to basically put all that nutrient back into the ground year by year, rather than burn it or take it off site. So we're trying to recycle everything on the site, and I think that's another basic principle of sustainability, which used to happen in the old days over the centuries before the Industrial Revolution. Everything was put back on the land, even human manure. We don't do that here, but
I would hope not.
but we wouldn't be allowed to anyway. But in the old days, everything was put back on the land to keep it rich enough to grow food.
I think we've ended up touching on it a lot, this relationship that we have with nature, and I think we're touching on that again, where a lot of the time we, I think, take for granted nature, and as you said earlier, we want to control it. And so it is lovely that there are principles that you have put in place in order to run this place sustainably, in order to do those practices. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is, would you encourage more people, if they've got gardens or things like that, would you encourage more people to look at ways in which they can sustain nature sustainably without taking away from the wildness of it and embracing it more?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything here can be applied in people's back gardens, and we hope that people who come here get inspired with some of the ideas here and go back and apply them in their back gardens. Even if it's just a question of keeping an area of the back garden as a sort of wild corner, where you allow plants to express themselves and to grow and self-seed. Even that can be a great application of the principles here, because you never know what pops up. If we tend to mow too much, mow our back garden far too often, for start. If you leave a patch unmown for a whole summer and allow the plant there to self-seed, it's quite interesting to see what pops up there.
I believe it was actually the NHS, was it not, this year, that took part in No Moo May, I think it was.
No Moo May.
Where they let their gardens grow wild and encourage the wildlife within there.
Exactly. So there's room for introducing a bit of wild nature in every garden, I think. The tendency to over manicure gardens is something that could do with a bit of reversion. Because in centuries past, cottage gardens used to be quite wild and overgrown things, because they weren't designed purely for spectacle. They were designed to allow food to grow naturally, whether it be herbs or other crops. And so people didn't worry too much in the old days about how things look as a spectacle. The emphasis was on getting the food products from the cottage garden. But now it's mainly, very often it's just for pleasure, and which is fine. But we still need areas of wildness where plants can express themselves more naturally, and the ecosystem can develop its own dynamic. But all ecosystems need managing these days. You can't just let things go completely. So this is where humans have always been managing woodlands over the centuries. But you can manage them in ways that are sustainable, that allow the ecosystem to stay sustainable. I think that's what we're trying to. We do a lot of experimentation here, so we try to find the right balance between intervening to manage the ecosystem and not intervening. It's quite a delicate interplay, and we're learning all the time. Sometimes we get it wrong, but it is fantastic when you get it right. You see you're managing it just enough to let exciting things happen, but you're not. But you're still able to get what you want from the system, like fruits and nuts and herbs.
That's lovely. That is lovely. Well, I think, if it's okay, I think now would be a lovely time for maybe a tour.
Yep.
Plants and sunflowers with.
All sunflowers.
I'll be here when you need me.
Well, I'll make sure there's a visual of me handling the word.
Thank you very much. I don't like them, as you can probably gather. They're quite tiny worms.
Yeah. Do you think the worms will mind being on camera?
Oh, you'll have to get them to sign a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh wow, this is lovely. Little tucked away
Yeah.
here in the corner.
Yeah.
So you found some, did you?
Yes. I put them back actually, but I dig some more out. This is the worm bin. Been keeping an eye on. And
'cause
we
this is
put
where
old
the-
vegetables
this
and
is where the
peelings and
worms-
things on it.
Yeah, this is a special bin for where the worm compost the food waste we put in.
Okay.
So if we have any snacks here, like bananas or whatever,
Yeah.
and we allow the worms to chew it all up and create compost. There we are. They've got
Ah, okay.
It is
there's a young baby worm.
a wiggly worm.
This is the worm at the bottom of the garden.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Oh,
lovely worm.
okay. Yeah.
So we're so dependent on worms for a healthy ecosystem, healthy soil, healthy plants. Because the worms are the diggers. They're the diggers of
Yeah.
the world. And if we had no worms, the soil would be so compacted we would not be able to grow anything at all.
Oh, of
So
course,
the worms
yes.
aerate the soil, chew it up and churn it up so that it's possible for the rest of the ecosystem to thrive.
And it links back to what you were saying earlier about, I forgot the word that you use now.
The ecology,
That's it, the ecology.
yes,
Links right the way back to that.
that's right.
That's lovely crumble compost there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got plenty of air in it, so when we plant the sunflowers, they'll be able to get lots of nutrients. And they'll be able to get their roots down, and they'll have all that moist compost that can retain the water for their roots.
Mm.
And of course we could use this compost elsewhere on the site to help support especially the young fruit trees or fruit bushes that we establish.
Okay, where next on our tour?
Right, if we
Then-
go this way,
We did have a lady that did a composting workshop, didn't we?
A composting
Jane
workshop?
came about 3 years ago, and she came for a couple of years, and we had people come along to learn all about the composting process because we've got the heaps there as well.
yeah,
Ah, okay.
we've got 3 compost heaps there. We could go via the compost heaps.
And we use nettles, we make nettle tea.
Oh, I've heard about that. I've never tried nettle tea.
Anyway, you could be here for a couple of weeks really with all the things going on.
I would love to be here for a couple of weeks.
So you can see this is an example of a compost that we're bringing on. This is like the most composted stuff in this compost heap. So this is the last stage of composting.
Yep.
We actually have a series of 4 compost bins. So all the newly chopped down stuff goes in there, and then we turn it over after a couple of weeks, put it in there, turn it over after another couple of weeks, put it in there, before finally putting it there. And the idea is we're practicing what's called hot composting. Regularly overturn the compost to allow it to decompose more quickly. So it's a good example of a composting cycle.
Yeah, I was going to say that I love the visual of it very clearly being it starts there, goes there, goes there, and then goes there. I think that's lovely.
Yes, yes.
And we need all the baby crawlies.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, so again, this is part of what we do by way of education on the site, displaying information for people to understand what it is we're trying to encourage by way of wildlife, especially wildlife that helps the decomposition process and therefore helps the recycling of nutrients back into the ecosystem. And that's what helps to ensure that the food forest is healthy.
Yeah,
We get plenty of fruit and nuts and
yeah,
herbs.
yeah.
And here's an example of the fruit tree we planted. This is, and you can see that we're starting to get a crop of green gages now
Yeah.
from the fruit tree. So if we you can see that we've got 2 sheds. We've got a tool shed.
Yep.
And we've got a compost loo.
A compost loo?
Yes. So this is a compost toilet.
Now I've never heard of a compost toilet.
Yes. So this is a very basic one, but the wee and the poo again all get recycled into special bins.
Oh, and then do they get used again?
No, we don't use it again on site because again we're probably not allowed to. But they all get composted down so that they become harmless.
Okay.
But here we mind the log.
Yeah.
Here we've got a tool shed that we donated to us for free. We dismantled it from someone's back garden and reassembled it here.
Oh wow!
And all the tools have been donated to us over the years. So we're very lucky to have everything we need just donated to us. And if we come this way. You can see that we've got lots of rainwater buckets.
Yeah.
We do a lot of rainwater harvesting here because this site actually gets very dry in summer.
Okay.
Because the land is so well drained by all the rivers and land drains that it can get very dry, and we're getting more droughts in summer. Warmer, drier summers are more common. So it's very important for us to have a large stock of rainwater harvested here. So you'll see lots of rainwater buckets all over the site.
I was wondering what those were as we went past. Again, this is something that I love and that I think was very clear when I came in, just the thin pathways, the thin little corridors, and it does make, for me, it reminds me of reading like stories or that sort of thing, and it leads back into this whole secret garden aesthetic that's going on.
I think it's part of the magic that attracts volunteers, really. But it also provides a lot of nice shade in summer. When we get really hot summers and heat waves, coming here is a good way to cool off, because you can move around the site without getting exposed too much to the sun.
Yeah.
And the shade also protects the young fruit trees and bushes, because the fruit will get burnt, exposed to sunshine that's too strong and heat that's too high. So, and also the tall trees and the shade they provide gives a lot of protection in winter from the very strong gales that come off the channel. So that's one of the benefits of having a food forest within a young woodland. You get the protection from the wind and the protection from the sun built into the system. We've got an apricot tree growing down there.
It's the that's in the mesh over there then.
This is our newest fruit tree. It's actually a plum cot, what they call a cross between an apricot and a plum. It's designed resilient to the frost of early spring. So this is one of our experiments to see if we can grow apricots here. Another similar apricot here, which has settled in very nicely. We planted that a couple of years ago, and it's settled in very nicely. So,
yeah, this is a lovely little hidden, tucked away bit.
That's right. That's right. And we planted these apricots here because they get the sun for most of the day in this spot.
Mm.
So it's a bit of a sun trap.
And again, I think that's really like something that's quite strange, is hearing the cars over there.
Yeah,
Earlier there was the faint sound of the bells
Yeah.
over at the church.
that's right.
It all adds to that sort of the civilization out there. We're here,
Yeah,
but they would not know about us being here, and it's a nice
absolutely.
secret.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, definitely. If we go back the way we came,
Yeah. What's this down here?
the bait hive, it's not got any bees in it, but one way of attracting honeybees into the forest garden is to have some empty hives, so that in spring when they swarm, they might find it. Oh, it's a nice place to live. And then they come in, and we've captured several swarms that way.
So they'll just naturally be gravitated towards an empty hive
Yeah,
if it's not.
if it suits their need, if they like it, they will go in.
You know what? That's one of those things that you hear and it sounds so straightforward,
Yeah,
but you wouldn't think of it if you didn't know it.
that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
right. So we always have some bait hives around the site, just on the off chance that a swarm might go in.
Because obviously bees are very important.
Yeah.
To the environment, and they are
Yeah.
declining. So it is good to get.
That's right. And one of the reasons why there's a decline in honeybees is because they like the inside of trunks, hollow trunks of trees. That's their natural habitat. But there's very few of those hollow trunks left, because nowadays they tend to get cut down and not left in the landscape.
Oh, okay.
So a beehive is simply a wooden box that replicates a hollow trunk. So that's why sometimes swarm will naturally go towards an empty beehive, because
that makes sense.
yeah. So as I say, over the years we've had several swarms come in that way, which is great, because if you had to buy a swarm, it would cost several £100. But if you get one that comes and naturally finds you, you've got a swarm for free, and you're helping the honeybees to survive. So this is one of our first clearings we made, and we filled it with a variety of new plants. So we've got red currants here,
Yeah.
as you can see. We've also got black currant bushes. We've got a walnut tree. This is the first year we've actually had walnuts growing on it.
Oh wow.
We planted this about 7 or 8 years ago, but this is the first year walnuts are actually growing on it. So we're really excited about that. We're really happy, because this is something that we didn't expect quite so soon, because it takes quite a long time for walnut trees to mature. But this tree is covered with walnuts growing. So we're hoping that it develops into an actual edible crop later this year, but we'll have to see.
You know, that is the first I've seen a walnut tree, and I think that's the first time I've seen one growing.
Right, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful sight if you can see a walnut tree full of walnuts. Again, this is good for a warming climate like ours, because it increases the chances of getting ripe walnuts.
Now I tried one of those earlier, the red currants, and I've got to admit, I think I prefer them to black currants, because it has more of that potency, that kick to them.
Sweet kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely. I love it. I love red currants, and for some reason it's not such a popular fruit anymore. It's one of those fruits that have grown so often, or eaten so often.
It's a shame, because it has a very sort of distinctive taste to them.
Yes, and extremely nutritious. I mean, the packed with nutrients, with vitamin C. It's very, very healthy fruit to eat. And we also have an apple tree here. This is one of several apple trees we've planted on site. And this is actually a very old variety. We love growing heritage varieties here. And this is what's called a port pendant plat. It's a variety that's thought to go right back to Roman times. It's thought that the Romans brought this variety over.
Really? Huh. You know what, that's actually, it's kind of fitting then in that case being here, given the amount of ties that we have
with the Romans,
the Romans,
absolutely.
with Pevensey Castle only being often to the left of us, right?
That's right, yep.
Yeah.
Just over there, beyond the river.
Starting to get a bit disorientated. Yeah. I know we're near the recreational ground, which I know, but starting to be like, wait, where are we in relation to things that I know?
That's right, yeah. Well, the river and Pevensey Castle is over that way. Pevensey Bay is over that way.
Yep.
And then we've got the road over there. So,
and the entrance way is down that path over there, am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little, just like this teeny little gate that you would miss.
Yes.
Well, a lot of myself have missed it.
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
Because you don't know that it's there unless you get it pointed out or go on these tours, because these tours are open to anyone, aren't they?
They are indeed. I mean, we have volunteers working here every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Who wants to free guided tour, then just come along to our volunteer work days on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll be very happy to show you around in the same way that we're showing you around this morning. So.
And as someone in the middle of a tour, I would highly suggest it.
Yes, yeah.
It's lovely, it gets you back out.
Yeah.
And as we were saying earlier, being outside can have a huge impact on one's mental health and
absolutely, yeah.
well-being.
It's notable that quite a few people here have told me have benefited psychologically and emotionally from being here. It's not just the contact with nature, it's developing new friendships with other people here, and feeling like they're value part of the team producing all the food and the herbs here.
Yeah, that sense of community.
Yeah, definitely, because we put the emphasis on community and community forest garden. The most important part of our work sessions is the tea break. We always stop halfway and have a cup of tea as a group.
Oh, I love that.
And that's when we have the deep conversations about anything at all, not just about what we're going to do next.
And that's what nature can do. It can bring out those conversations, I think, that are fairly deep or are fairly connected, because you feel like you can share them when you're outside.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we see ourselves as very much a demonstration site. We're never going to be commercially productive in terms of the amount of food we grow here, but what we aim to do is to demonstrate how food can be grown in a way that's helped increase biodiversity, not reduce it.
Yes,
Because at the moment too much food is grown in a way that actually reduces biodiversity. We really need to get nature flourishing alongside us, rather than just extract what we want from it and destroy nature in the process.
Okay, shall we continue on with the tour?
That's right, yes. We've got a range of fruit trees all around, but this is one I particularly like. This is an Asian pear tree from East Asia, and you can see it's producing these lovely round pears, and when they become much bigger in autumn, they're really delicious. So all these, you see, virtually all of them were donated to us by people over the years, and again, this is an experiment. It's a tiny fruit tree when we got it, but it's really flourished. It seems to love it here, and you can see how it's starting to grow into the walnut tree, which is fine. It's creating that sort of rich canopy of fruit and nuts. So it's possible to demonstrate that you can fruit and nuts growing in close proximity to each other. So you don't have to worry too much about spacing.
So these are things that can work in harmony.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas in a traditional fruit or nut orchard, they allow for much wider spacing.
Okay.
They want to maximise production. But here it's not about maximising production, but trying to put many different kinds of food crops in close proximity to create that food forest.
Yeah.
But if we continue this way, if we duck under the buddleia, then we can go down another path.
You weren't kidding about ducking.
Here's a Japanese wineberry, another experiment. You can see.
You know, I love how multicultural these plants are. We've already seen pears from Asia.
That's right. Yes. When they become ripe, in a couple you get small strawberry-like fruit. And when you pick them, you get an inch sweet hit from them. Really beautiful.
Oh, okay.
And this is a roller left over from the allotment days.
Wow.
So this is like a sort of reminder. Of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
allotment
like
days. Yes.
That's really interesting to see, actually.
Yes. So we don't use it, but it's
No,
just
no.
there as a sort of furniture.
A memento.
Yes.
Memento.
Yes. So, and there are still people in Pevensey who remember the allotment days. They used to work on the allotments here.
Okay. I believe you've got pictures
That's right.
as well of the allotments. Yeah.
Which I can show you later. But as you can see, there's a lot of buddleia on site, and this is actually one of our major management tasks, which is to keep the buddleia under control. Because if you go out of control, you get this really dense, dark canopy that prevents anything else from growing. So every winter, we have to cut back a lot of the buddleia.
Okay. And is that a task that's? Is that a task that takes a long time then? Is that something that?
Yeah, quite a long time. Volunteers love doing that. But it's lovely to have some buddleia because the butterfly. But buddleia tends to be very invasive and grow very fast.
Okay.
And take over everything. When we first got here, there was far too much buddleia, and it destroyed everything. Not even grass grew because the canopy was so dark.
Oh my God.
So again, it's like everything. You have to keep everything in balance. Not too much of one thing, not too much.
Is that why there's still so much like dirt around here, or is that?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Whereas further out, there's a lot more grass. And the buddleia tend to eventually get too overgrown and fall down and start flop. So this will be cut back in autumn. And buddleia, by the way, is not a native plant. It comes from the Himalayan region.
Oh wow.
It
Okay.
was brought back by Catholic missionaries from Asia back in the 1890s.
Huh.
That's why you see buddleia.
Huh. Thing as well, something that's important for me to know a little bit is being a predominantly younger person, being out somewhere like this. It reminds me how much I end up taking nature for granted, myself personally, and it reminds me to get outside more often. which is a lovely thing to be reminded
Yeah.
of doing.
That's right, yes. It'd be lovely to have a lot more young people here. We have one or two, but it'd be lovely to have a lot more young people. Because it's such a great career for young people to get involved in growing and nature conservation, anything like that. Because there's a lot of nature to look after in this country still. So here we have more young fruit trees. This is a medlar. And again, medlars was a fruit that used to be grown an awful lot as centuries past. But you don't see so many medlars growing now. So this is a very productive medlar.
I think funny sentence that I did not expect to come out of today. It's a funny medlar.
Yeah. Yes, and here we have our biggest beehive.
Oh, okay. That really is Sawtugs
Yes,
round the corner there.
that's right. So there is still a bee colony in there. And here we have some cob nuts we planted. There's one there, and one further on. And this is actually interesting. This is the first year I've seen cob nuts growing.
Really?
So this is hopefully we'll get the first ever harvest of cob nuts.
That's an interesting shape
Yes,
that they form.
yes. In a couple of months' time, they'll be ripe enough to pick, assuming the squirrels don't get them. But I've never seen squirrels here, so we might be lucky.
See, I would have thought squirrels, this birthplaces for squirrels to go.
Yes, but there's lots of other wildlife, but maybe the squirrels find it too hard to compete here.
Maybe.
We have foxes and we have birds of prey.
I mean, it makes a difference from some places where you go, and there's squirrels everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But I'm really pleased to see cob nuts on this for the first time ever. Because they were very tiny trees when we planted them. There's more here. But if we go this way,
Straight ahead.
and here you can see some trees that survived from the allotment days.
Oh wow, okay.
This is an apple tree, and it's left over from the allotment days. We discovered it covered in bramble, but we cleared away the bramble, and this is actually a fantastic apple tree. It's known as a Charles Ross, this one. And
A Charles
Ross.
Ross.
Yes.
Huh.
And it's an old variety, and it produces a very big apple, which is delicious, absolutely delicious. And you can see it became very tall
Oh wow, yeah.
because it was left unmanaged years, and we actually ended up with an apple tree that's too tall really, but we've been slowly pruning it back down, and so we're very lucky to have inherited this one.
It's very lucky that that tree survived for that
That's right.
long of amount of time.
Yeah. And this is crab apple. Thank you very much.
Crab apple.
Slipped my mind.
Is that one of the sweet ones, or am I getting confused with another?
Do you know, I've never
Because
Tasted
crab apple is one that I've heard of before.
They're
yeah.
a little bit tart.
Ah.
And they come out sort of a reddy orange colour, and you can make jelly with them, you know, like to go with
That's
roast
probably
meats.
where I've heard of it,
Yeah, very,
yes.
very old-fashioned.
Mm.
And we have quince as well, which is a really old. Quince is not something you see very often,
Yeah.
but it's like a sort of medieval fruit, like the medlars over here.
Yeah.
Again, that's something that's brilliant as well. We had a Roman tree earlier,
That's
and then we've got the medieval one
Yeah, that's
now.
right.
So I
Yeah.
feel like you guys are in the right sort of position for those sort of things,
That's right.
because the castle's only over in that direction.
That's
so
right. Yeah. So we're part of the heritage of the area now.
Yeah.
Aren't we? Yes. So,
And we have that orchard behind the castle.
yes,
Which I'm sure
yes.
you've seen, so
Yeah.
very nice of it.
That's right. No, you carry on.
No, it's all right.
Different tour.
Part of the tour, but
Okay, stay like that.
but yes, and of course, Lyle and I are very heavily involved in helping to look after the heritage at places like the Mint House and.
Oh, really? Because the Mint House is somewhere that I recently went, just on my own when they did the King's Coronation thing.
Amazing, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love how there's still, actually, like what you were saying earlier about this place, there's still things being discovered every single day.
Yes.
And I feel like the Mint House, whereas Pevensey Castle is like, okay, this is the history that almost, was, once you've been there a few times, you know of the history. The Mint House is more
Keeps producing
kind of,
more.
it's like, here's this thing that we've just discovered, here's this thing that we've just discovered.
Yeah.
And I
We're
love
very-
that.
We're closely affiliated because we go and volunteer
That's right.
to help them with their garden
Yes.
sometimes. And so, we know
Yeah.
all the people there, and,
Exactly.
we're a really big part of the community,
Hmm.
actually, and it's getting bigger and bigger now. We've got the orchard.
Yeah.
See, I would love to see the orchard if I
Yeah.
can, because
yeah,
that's
definitely,
something
yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
lovely.
Yep.
Yes.
So we can take you there today. Yes. But yeah, I mean, as Caroline said, we're building this very close relationship with the Mint House. They understand that we know a lot about the old plants and herbs, and they're trying to reproduce that link to medieval herbs and plants in their own garden.
See, that's a side of history that, because I love history, I love everything, like, looking back. But plants is something that has never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Medicinal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were much more dependent upon what they could grow locally back in the medieval times. They didn't have international food supply chains like we had, so they simply had to grow all their stuff locally. So they had to have that intimate knowledge of what could be grown locally, what could be harvested locally. And literally, they had their own cottage gardens and kitchen garden, growing a lot of the stuff they needed, so that they could simply walk out the back door, grab it and put it in their pottage or their stews or whatever. So there's nothing they didn't know about local food growing. So anyway, if we move on, this is another fruit tree inherited from allotment days. This is what's called a James Grieve apple.
Huh.
So again, another heritage variety, again a delicious apple. And a tree that became too big, it was left unmanaged for so many years.
Oh, well,
But
that
it's
is
a sort of forest canopy, contribute to the overall ecosystem. This is another beehive we have that's still got a colony in it.
Oh, so they have a colony.
Yes, it does, yes.
Uneven ground.
If you go through here, right, another path. This is a wildlife pond.
Oh, wow.
We created
Oh, wow.
about 6 or 7 years ago. So this was a community project. We had about sort of 30 people volunteering to help create it.
Keep the pond.
Yes, a famous local person called Pete the Pond, who knows how to make ponds, does it for a living. He gave us free advice to help us develop it. I could see the pond level, the water level has gone very low, which it does at this every summer. It's natural for a pond water level to drop this low during summer, but in winter the water level is right up to here. So,
Oh, okay. I mean, I love wild ponds and that sort of thing. I think they look so beautiful. As we were saying earlier, that beauty that comes of leaving things
yeah, that's right.
and having things come to it.
That's right, yes. Well, this is a good example of this because obviously when we first built the pond there was no wildlife in it. But newts have discovered it, and we know newts breed in there. So every year we see newts popping around.
Okay.
Occasionally we get frogs visiting. So it's quite
Lovely.
uncanny. Within weeks of building the pond, neutral frogs started
What's
finding it.
What's the famous phrase? Build it and they shall come.
Exactly.
If I'm correct in thinking this, there was because there's a blog that gets run, isn't there,
Yeah.
on the website?
Yep.
And there was one about a well-being workshop or something along those lines that you had around this pond.
That's right.
Area.
Yes. We call it a pondering session.
Okay. I like that. I like
Down
that play
to
on word.
ponder.
Yes. Ponder by the pond.
Exactly. Yeah. Children love it because they do pond dipping here.
Okay.
So it's a wonderful pond dipping session.
Actually, I guess that leads me on to a question I didn't think of before. Do you end up getting a lot of like children and families coming through?
Yes, we do.
here?
Young families love coming here, and we've had a forest school come and visit us before now and spend a whole day here
Oh
doing
wow!
various exercises for the children.
That must have not only been lovely for the children, but also for the volunteers, for the likes of yourself,
Yeah,
to get that, as you said, that younger perspective.
exactly. Yes. Again, it's a place of discovery for the kids. There's enough wildlife here for them to bump into it, literally,
Yeah.
as they walk around.
Put it like round this way, maybe.
And as you can see,
Or we'd have to.
the volunteers are now looking at the health of the fruit trees we've planted. There's a pear tree that Fiona is looking at the moment and checking on it. As you can see, it's lovely. And
Pear called
there's
Hunter. It's a delicious one.
Hunter.
Hunter is the name of it.
Huh. You know what? I'm out today, and I'm gonna know so many like food and plant names. My mum, who's really into gardening, when I told her that I was coming here, she was like, if I had the time, I'd volunteer, because she loves this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, you don't need to volunteer. You just pop in when you feel like it.
Well, I will definitely be telling my mum about this because she'll love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she'll be very surprised about
That's right.
where I got all this knowledge from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bring these out a bit, Rosemary.
And here we've got more fruit bushes here.
About half a
You
dozen.
can see there's a lot of black currants.
Oh wow, yeah.
ripening and
So again, going back to being able to end up picking blackberries, and things like that. Yeah.
They'll be out soon.
And here you've got quince. Caroline was mentioning the quince earlier. We've got the quince tree here. Side quince jelly, haven't they? And,
That's the medieval one.
yeah.
Huh.
And quince jelly is delicious, really is. So we're here to process all the fruit. They can take what they want for free and process it. And then some of them bring their jams or jellies back and share it with the rest of the
Oh,
community.
that's lovely. Yeah.
So there's that sort of communal sharing that's a very important part of the building up the community.
And wassail.
Yes?
Have you heard of wassail?
No, I don't think I have.
Every winter we hold a wassail ceremony here to bless the apple trees and pray
Oh
for them.
wow.
That's a really, really, really old tradition.
Wow. You know what? I would love to come back.
Yeah.
If that's okay, and actually cover that, because I feel like that would be interesting.
They have at the Open Castle in Pevensey, they have a wassail night, and they've got all the pentacle drummers,
Oh
with
really?
the torches, and it's a massive.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well, you should definitely cover that. That'd be great, 'cause it's
Yeah.
really good fun, and they march, and they're all dressed up. It's
See-
very, very pagan. Kind
See,
of
the
thing.
secret for me knowing what to cover for this
Yeah.
is me asking myself, what would I enjoy? What do I want? Like when it comes to history and things like that, it's like, what would I enjoy seeing? What's a little bit of an excuse to get me out to go to these events and talk to people?
You would absolutely. Wassail would be brilliant to cover it all on its own.
Yeah, that's right.
Incredibly good fun.
And if the weather's good enough, they take the wassails to the
Procession through,
orchard.
and through the castle.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
all around the
okay.
castle.
So that's pronounced wassail.
Wasssail.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
Google it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see all the different
Wassail, the word wassail comes from the Anglo-Saxon word wash hair, which means
Ah.
good health to you.
You know what? I was expecting to learn about nature, but now I've learned about nature and history. I love this.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Everything is connected, they say.
Yes. That's it. That's it. So we're all still Anglo-Saxon at heart.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Again, that the roots to the Anglo-Saxons down here as well.
Yes.
Again, which make it more slightly poetic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's right. That's
Is
right.
that any good, Rosemary?
No, it hasn't got a fork on the end.
Right. So we.
Got a spoon. Look, you can see the spoon.
This is another pear tree. This is a codfish pear. Look, this one. This is another apple tree inherited from the allotment days.
Okay.
Golden.
Golden delicious. Imagine naming like a fruit or a food item delicious.
Yeah.
You must be very sure of the fact that it tastes delicious to
Right,
name
yeah.
it delicious.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. This is obviously a very common commercial crop in the old days. But this is right from allotment days, and we've brought it back to health through careful pruning and getting rid of all the brambles covering it, and it's really flourished since then. It produces a beautiful.
And they're this countries because the French people, they mark it golden delicious, and it's grown more in the middle of France. They actually grow better in this country. more flavour
Okay.
to them, and it depends on the climate and the soils and all those sorts of things.
Ah.
Yeah, so we're better than those froggies.
Got a nice blossom at this year.
Yeah, it's where it's in the sun, been in the sun, you can see they're pink.
So if we make our way to the ferns.
Oh my god, it loops back round to where we were.
Yes.
Ah.
Circular tour.
God, I really did feel a bit of that community forest garden magic.
Yes.
I think.
And here we have the herb garden, which we hacked out of the wilderness.
Herbs are. I mean, when we were doing that little sit-down talk,
Yeah.
I loved it because all I could smell was lavender,
Really?
and I love the smell of lavender.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite smells.
Yes. Well, there's lots of nice smells here. Very much a sensory
Oh
garden.
wow!
We've got the smell of the.
Shame for the people that are going to be listening and watching this. They
That's
can't
right.
get this smell.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Just rubbing your fingers over it.
Mm.
This one, Caroline?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Yes.
In fact, Rosemary planted the rosemary.
Yes.
That's rosemary over there.
Oh, that's
She planted this
brilliant!
rosemary.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it sweet?
Yes.
There's poetry in that, I
That's
think.
it, yes. Yes. It's only appropriate and fair that a rosemary should plant a rosemary.
Yes, yes, I agree with that.
And this is sedum, which you can actually eat the young leaves raw. It's delicious raw. They're very lemony flavour. I shall demonstrate by eating one in front of you. Got a lemon tang to it, really nice. So you can throw these into salad,
Uh-huh.
but it's brilliant for pollinating. When the flowers ripen in late summer, autumn, there are pollinators all over this.
Wow, okay.
And it produces beautiful purple flowers too. And this is the lavender that you were waxing lyrical about.
My favourite herb, this. Favourite. It's... You can't go wrong with a bit of lavender, I say.
Exactly. Yeah. More the merrier. So
Mm.
this is our big lavender patch.
That's...
We'd love to grow more lavender actually, and we do. And you have to be careful making your way around here. Because this apple tree's got a bit out of hand. This is what we call a red Falstaff. It's called a red Falstaff because when they ripen they have a really big red blush on them, which remind people of Falstaff nose,
Ah,
which
okay.
was always red because of his heavy drinking.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, I love this little hidden,
Yeah.
tucked away seat over here, and
Well,
the
this is what
little...
we call our peace garden.
Ah, okay.
It's a place where people just chill out and experience the peace and tranquility. We've even got a sign saying peace garden, and we've got the Buddha, and a place where people can sit down and chat. So it's always nice and warm down this end. And this is a hop plant.
Hot plant.
Yes, because we grow this as a reminder of the fact that this whole area was once a key part of the hop industry. Hop gardens all over the place in this area. There's very few left now. In fact, I can't think of a commercial hop garden locally, anywhere near here locally. But once upon a time, hops were grown in abundance around here for brewing. So,
Is that why that's there? Or is
yeah,
that...
because we found this on site, funnily enough. So it's obviously an advertising hoarding left over, and it shows the hop kilns for drying the hops. So it's just a reminder of the past again.
Yeah.
We like to sprinkle these reminders of the past around the garden, and so we've got lots of stuff. We've got grapevine, we've got holly bush, we've got a bay tree.
A bay tree in the bay.
And the fences are woven.
Absolutely.
That's an old.
Oh yes.
Those are all made of willow.
Yes.
Willow fences.
So a volunteer created this fence.
That was
Wow.
actually here it is now.
We call it the Great Wall of Pevensey.
That's great.
Oh, I love
I
it.
love this.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
So we built the fence in order to keep the brambles of the rest of the site overwhelming. the herb
Yes,
garden.
yes.
So it
I
has a
love.
practical function, but it's also had a kind of rustic beauty.
I love the name, the Great Wall of
Yes,
Pevensey.
that's right. Yes.
I think I can.
Graham, our volunteer here, he's one of the guys that helped build and maintain the Great
Oh
Wall.
wow! May I say, you've done an amazing job. Like, it's
Rosemary done that bit. I've done from here.
Well,
But Rosemary done that bit.
so beautiful. I think fences like this are so intricate.
Yeah.
And so well done. It's an art form.
It's just so simple to do. You
Yes,
just
right.
bang a few posts in and then just weave the branches in.
No, trust me. If I did it, there'd be branches everywhere, and you wouldn't want them to go where they would be.
Yes. Well, I think Graham definitely got a lot more skillful over time. I've seen him. He's a dab hand at weaving willow branches in.
I'm taking care of all the trees.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got sage bush here. Sage is another lovely herb.
Oh, lovely. And another lovely smell as well.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So. Yes.
Not that I should go on about the smells too much. But if people that are watching or listening to this want to experience the smells, then they can be sure to come down here themselves. And
That's right. Yes. Yeah. We welcome visitors. So anybody wants to come along.
And then-
again, all these herbs you see here were donated as little sprigs by volunteers or local people. So it's nothing we did here that was bulk.
okay. So it's all been that's lovely. How it's the volunteers giving back
Exactly. Yeah.
and like working on. That's lovely.
Yeah. Yes. And quite a few of the herbs here have medicinal qualities. Like this one is feverfew. And that
Feverfew?
The leaves are very good for dealing with migraines
Oh, okay.
or migraines, what you call it.
Huh. Okay.
So there's a nice site. There's a nice little harvest of red currant.
And then we're back to the beginning.
That's it. Back to our workshop cabin, which again we managed to get a grant from Wealdon District Council 8 years ago to purchase and construct this workshop cabin, which is extremely useful because, especially if it starts raining, we've got a bolt
Yes,
hole
of
to go
course.
to. But it also enables us to use it as a sort of educational cabin, and you know, we keep a lot of our educational equipment here. We've got a library. We've got a lot.
Oh, lovely.
Libraries all about forest gardening and growing, so people can borrow books here, and if we're doing a craft workshop, we've got various educational craft items.
So
Notice boards to keep people.
is this where a lot of the workshops will start then?
That's right. That's right.
In
And
here.
fact, this is a list of all the birds that have been spotted
Oh, okay.
recently on the site. Or we've got chiffchaff, song thrush, lettuce warbler, reed warblers, robin, blackcaps, great tits, wrens, blackbirds. So we have a bird expert here who records all the birds we spotted.
Lovely, lovely, yeah. Well, I think actually in here might be a good place to look at the pictures.
Yes.
Maybe, yes.
Yeah. This is a photo, if I take it up, the only photo we've ever managed to secure of what the old allotment used to look like.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you can see the neatly mown grass path, the individual allotment plots, one there, one and several in the distance. And this is what the whole site looks like.
Wow, you know what? It's mental to think that it once looked like that, and now it looks like what it does look like. It's got a completely different kind of vibe to it.
Definitely.
I feel even though that's a picture, you can sort of get that difference between it.
Exactly.
Do you know whereabouts that would be or not? Is that?
It would be over near the pond.
Oh, okay. Yes. Wow. Okay, that's.
The shed there is still there. So you can see when we found it by cutting back a lot of the overgrowth, and we actually discovered that, and it's still there, still intact, still usable as a shed. And it must be about 50 or 60 years old, that shed now.
You know, it's mental because when we went by the pond earlier, it was so sort of enclosed off and it felt intimate.
That's right.
And that picture is very open.
It is,
It's the complete opposite.
Well, as you can see, there's not many trees on the site. These trees in the distance belong to the next field on the other side. And these trees belong on the riverbank. So in between, there's virtually no trees. And you see these? You know those two big apple trees I showed you earlier?
No way is that them.
Those are the apple trees that were planted.
No.
You see how short they are?
Yeah.
Okay, see you, Graham. Yeah, all the best.
See ya.
See you, Caroline. Bye, mate. Yeah. Bye, Jude. Yeah, all the best.
Yeah, so if you're interested, we could, sorry to interrupt, we could get you a key that you keep and you can come here with your friends or whatever, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's
If that wouldn't be too much, that would be lovely because I know for a fact, I know sounds bad me saying this, my mum would get so much fulfillment out of being somewhere like this.
Yeah.
Because she uses the garden a lot because of her own mental health issues. She uses the garden a lot to, you know, connect back to nature, to ground herself.
Yeah.
And so it'd be lovely to show my mum around here at some time. So
yeah. John's one of our
hello.
most frequent volunteers. John, you can vouch for that. The fact that it helps psychologically.
Being outside in nature and spending time in your local green spaces has been shown to have a profound impact on our mental health and well-being. According to the mental health charity Mind, there's been a lot of research to show that being out in nature has had a profound impact on anxiety and depression, with the nature air having moderate to severe impacts on certain symptoms of depression. It can also help people who are suffering from seasonal affective disorder, a type of depression that can affect people at different times of the year and seasons. This is due to the natural light which is created when you go outside.
I've had depression for years, and I've got some Parkinson's now, so yeah, it just helps to come out and be rude to people and sort of wind them up. Oh no. So no, it's good. It's and you just got to keep active. I mean, that's how I feel.
You would not think that those two, that something so little would become something
That's
so
right. Yes.
mammoth.
Yes.
You've also got the maps in there as well,
Yes.
haven't you?
A sort of hand-drawn map I've made. It's not exactly to scale, but it's a sort of diagrammatic representation of the area. So the site is bounded on one side by the Langley sewer. It's not actually a sewer. Sewer is the old name for river.
I didn't actually know that. I'm surprised that I didn't know that fact.
Right, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's a medieval name for a river or land drainage channel. And then on the other side you've got a railway line breaking the southern boundary of the site, and then you've got the Wall's End Road linking Pevensey Bay with Pevensey. So the site is this long thin strip by the river.
And it is mental to think about how much you and the fellow volunteers have used this space, considering how much actually in the grand scheme, I know there's like the aerial view there as well that's on Google Earth, how much in that grand space, how little it actually is, but you've managed to fill that up with so much stuff, and what beautiful stuff, shall I say, not just stuff, but you managed to really use in a worthwhile way.
Well, that's right. I mean, again, it's part of what we try to demonstrate is how much you can pack into a fairly small space. Productive it can be, especially from a food grain point of view, because it is possible to meet a lot of the needs of a local community in terms of nutritious food from a fairly small area. It's a myth to think that you need really big farms all over the place. And especially fruit and herbs. Fruit, nuts and herbs are a vital source of nutrients, and we simply don't have enough of them growing locally anymore. We've lost a lot of our commercial fruit and nut orchards over the last few decades, due to foreign competition, and we need to protect the fruit and nut growing areas we've got left, and create new ones, in order to create that long-term sustainable local food system, because we're going to need it in the future as the climate change accelerates. But it's also a source of healthy nutrition in itself. If you've got lots of volunteers have taken away lots of fruit today, that's going to improve their diets, that's going to improve their intake of highly nutritious food, and it's one of the main perks of being a volunteer here, is to be able to harvest what fruit you want from here. It's creating that super abundance of local fruit and nuts that enables give people the chance to get free food. I mean, if you know how to grow a food flourish, you've got a vital source of free food. And we're in a cost of living crisis, so everybody likes free food if they can get hold of it.
Yeah, it's
There
like
is such a thing as a free lunch.
Yeah.
If you know how to grow it.
it's like the other phrase, isn't it? Give a man a fish and he'll be fed for a day. Teach a man how to fish, and he'll be fed for the rest of his life.
Absolutely right, perfect, yes. So, which is what we hope to do here. We hope to teach people how to grow food flourish. And it's a lot easier than people think. It's not a lot of maintenance we do here, because we're not trying to create a very manicured horticultural plot. It's about simply allowing fruit and nut crops to flourish, within an ecosystem that can support them, and then letting nature do the rest.
If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content just like this, then consider subscribing down below with notifications turned on. That would really help out a lot. I've been Dan Middleton with Postcast.